We often confide our most personal thoughts to our partners. Sometimes these are thoughts that we are sure no one else would understand. This is also the case for Oliver S. He's been together with Jessica for some time. But what he confides in his girlfriend goes far beyond a dark fantasy. He tells her that he would like to kill a person, preferably a child. The most natural reaction to such a statement would probably be horror, disgust, or at least deep astonishment. Most people would perhaps even be speechless. But when Oliver tells Jessica about his fantasies, her reaction is different. She said, "I didn't ask him. You kill a child now." But my attitude was something like, "Yes, go for it." Sedat A was only 9 years old when he died. He lived with his family in Duisburg in the west of Germany. On January 9th, 2001, Sedat fell victim to a heinous crime. He meets his murderer where he should actually be safest, very close to his home. He is approached by his neighbor Oliver S. on the playground. The young man has been living in the housing estate for almost a year. Oliver tells him that he has Pokémon merchandise in his apartment. Some sources speak of the popular Pokémon cards, which are still popular collectibles today. In other sources, Oliver is said to have mentioned Pokémon collectors' coins or key fobs. The latter were apparently a promotional item at an unspecified fast food restaurant at the time. This would fit with the fact that 23-year-old Oliver S. worked at Burger King. Regardless of what the fan merchandise is, Oliver promises Sedat he can have his Pokémon merchandise. He just has to come home with him. Sedat accompanies him. When he and Oliver S. are standing in front of the latter's apartment, he hesitates. But Oliver pulls him over the threshold. Only a few minutes later, Sedat is dead. He approached an aquarium in Oliver's apartment to look at the fish in it. At that moment, Oliver grabs him from behind with his hands around his neck. He strangles Sedat without warning. He had cunningly lured the neighbor boy into his apartment under the pretext of wanting to give him a present. When Sedat is dead, Oliver initially leaves his body in the apartment. He goes to a supermarket and buys cigarettes and noodles. After that, he picks up his 18-year-old girlfriend Jessica from the bus stop. She's still at school and went straight to his place after she got off. Oliver has been confiding his fantasies to Jessica since the fall of 2000. He would like to abuse a child. Although Jessica initially reacts with rejection, when he expresses the wish again at the beginning of 2001, this changes. Jessica even encourages him to do it. Later, this is explained by Jessica's fear of commitment. She is said to have been afraid of losing her boyfriend, so she went along with his plans. However, in later interrogations, she also says that she wanted to see a dead person. Out of curiosity. The murder of Sedat was apparently planned well in advance. Even the day of the killing was apparently set in advance. On this day, January 9th, 2001, a funeral is taking place to which many residents of the neighborhood have been invited. For Oliver and Jessica, this means fewer potential witnesses. When Oliver leads Jessica to his apartment, she first looks at the body of Sedat. Then Jessica undresses, and she and Oliver have sex. During the course of the afternoon, they both abuse the corpse. After that, they cut up the dead body and pack it into a suitcase. After that, they eat together and watch TV as if nothing had happened. At 9:30 p.m., Jessica's father picks her up and takes her home. He has no idea what happened in his daughter's boyfriend's apartment. Oliver takes the suitcase to a clothing donation bin on Louisenstrasse. Sedat's body is found in it on the morning of January 10th. Sedat's father had already gone to the police station the afternoon before and filed a missing persons report. A boy had seen Sedat being approached by a man at the playground on Charlottenstrasse and then following him. When Sedat did not return home that night, the worst was feared. The search ends with the discovery of the suitcase in a clothing donation container in what is probably the most gruesome way. Witnesses find the blood-smeared piece of luggage behind the container and immediately call the police. When the investigators open the suitcase, they find Sedat's body inside. Inside the used clothing container itself, his head was found packed in a plastic bag. The police immediately issued an APB and published photos of the suitcase. Oliver S.'s father actually came forward to the police as a result. He said that his son was in possession of a suitcase like that. So the investigators were soon on to Oliver and Jessica. Before that, Oliver's father had already called his son to ask if the suitcase in the pictures was not his. Oliver claimed that he had thrown the suitcase on the rubbish heap some time ago and had no idea what had happened to the piece of luggage. Fortunately, the father noticed that his son was lying to him and decided to report his suspicions to the police. The two of them were immediately summoned to the police station for questioning. At first, Oliver denies being responsible for Sedat's death. But in the morning hours of January 13, 2001, he confesses to the crime. He also describes how he severed Sedat's head. Jessica, however, is innocent. It is only later that he reveals that she knew about the plan and also desecrated the dead body. The investigators are so horrified that one of the police officers slaps Oliver S. during the interrogation. At first, the police assume that Oliver really did act alone. But it is not only the new statements of the accused that make the police suspicious. During the interrogation, Jessica contradicts herself. It is only when the officers yell at Jessica that she admits to having known about Oliver's plans. She also talks about the sexually motivated acts against the corpse that they both committed. DNA traces of Jessica are found on the body, which is further evidence of her complicity. But how can two young people be driven to commit such a senseless and cruel crime? Oliver is 22 years old when he meets his girlfriend, Jessica. She's 5 years younger. The couple meet in early 2000 through mutual friends. Both are very introverted and gradually become more and more isolated from their environment. Among his friends, Oliver is considered a childlike guy who sometimes seems a little retarded. Later, however, during the course of the trial, his intelligence quotient is determined during a series of psychological examinations. And it turns out to be 115, which is slightly above average. After graduating from school, he works as a youth worker for several years. He started training to become a child carer, but didn't finish it. Instead, he trained as a retail salesman and completed the apprenticeship. After that, he entered the world of work, but often changed jobs. Once he was dismissed because he allegedly hit a trainee on the backside with a coat hanger. Oliver has developmental disorders that manifest themselves in motor skills and speech due to medical complications at his birth. He also has a misalignment of the thoracic vertebra, which causes him to have a visible hump. Because of this, he was often teased by his peers. Unlike her older boyfriend, Jessica is still at school. Jessica's father is in prison when she is born. Her mother, who is only 15 years old, is homeless and addicted to drugs. As a toddler, she's placed in an adoptive family. Oliver's parents believe that Jessica is a bad influence. When she skipped school for 3 weeks, Jessica's parents got angry. From that time on, Oliver was banned from Jessica's family home. It was not until July 2000 that Oliver S. moved into his own apartment in Duisburg, Hamburg. Jessica spends most of her free time there and comes to see Oliver every day. Jessica even passes her child benefit on to her boyfriend. According to Oliver's future lawyer, the two of them spend their days watching sex and horror movies. Lydia Benica, a renowned criminal psychologist, says the following about the two of them.
In this case, there are two people who have developed particularities due to their unfavorable biographies. It could well be that each of them would never have taken the step towards this act on their own, But due to the dynamics that developed through the relationship, it came about that the decision was made to commit this act in the first place. And of course, a lot can be learned here about such dysfunctional relationship dynamics.
Oliver and Jessica's trial began in May 2001 and lasted for 13 days. Neither of the perpetrators had a criminal record. During the testimony of an expert witness, Oliver says that at the age of 15 or 16, he had thought about killing a person. At the time, he defaced photos of family celebrations by making small cuts in the necks of younger relatives. The police find explicit descriptions of crimes in Oliver's diary entries and novel drafts. However, when talking to the expert witness, he says that he was more inspired by the novels of Stephen King. He wanted to write something similar and just used names of people he knows. He also says that he bullied his siblings' friends when he was younger. Oliver's parents confirmed that his behavior was apparently problematic even at an early age. He was therefore examined by a psychologist, who, however, certified that Oliver's behavior was not unusual for a boy going through puberty. At the re-examination during the trial, he's diagnosed with a schizoid personality disorder. Meanwhile, Jessica has retracted her confession. She accuses the interrogators of having manipulated her. She claims that she was refused the services of a criminal defense attorney. She says that the interrogators made up the details of her alleged confession themselves. However, one of the police officers in charge says in court, "I don't have that much of an imagination." According to the court, the police conspiracy against Jessica is completely illogical. After all, there was already a confessed murderer at the time of the crime, Oliver. Otherwise, the officers had no motive to hold Jessica responsible. She alone was the focus of the investigators' interrogation. Sedat's parents sit in the courtroom throughout the entire trial. They are co-plaintiffs. The mood during the trial is restless. Even the defense attorneys occasionally have to be escorted out of the courtroom by security personnel to prevent possible attacks. Again and again, there are also interjections like, "Hang him," directed at the defendant Oliver S. Oliver is sentenced to 14 years in prison for murder. He's considered to be of diminished responsibility, which is why he was not given a life sentence. Nevertheless, he is still in a closed psychiatric ward. Theoretically, he could remain there for the rest of his life. It is constantly being reviewed to see if there are still serious reasons to keep him in preventive detention. Oliver S. is said to have tried several times to get his release. But so far, according to sources, he is considered untreatable. So, release is currently more than unlikely. Jessica is convicted of aiding and abetting murder. Under juvenile law, she will only receive a prison sentence of 6.5 years. Today, she's free again and able to lead a normal life. Around 1,500 people attend Sedat's memorial service. The event was organized by the family itself. They also invited Oliver S.'s family. Speaking to journalists, Sedat's father said that the perpetrator's relatives were not bad people just because he was a bad person. A more than remarkable gesture. Today, there is a small memorial for Sedat at the place where he was found. All that remains is to wish Sedat's family the very best, and to express admiration for the fact that they have remained human despite this unbearable loss. And that's the end of today's video. Feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like and/or subscribe. Also, feel free to activate the bell because that way the video gets a lot of interaction shortly after uploading, and it will probably be suggested to people who haven't subscribed to Insolito yet. Thanks a lot in advance, and thanks for watching. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you watch the video, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, ciao guys!